Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Talking Movies with D, and that's me. Today I'm going to review a movie that's on my most anticipated list for 2016. I can't remember exactly where it was. I think it was like a 5 or 6. But anywho, this movie is X-Men Apocalypse. It's the direct sequel to X-Men Days of Future Past, and is another. I believe it's Bryan Singer's fourth time directing an X-Men movie. He did the first two, and he did the last one, which is X-Men Days of Future Past, which I believe is my favorite one. But anywho, here's the synopsis. Uh, Apocalypse, the first and most powerful mutant from Marvel's X-Men universe, amassed the powers of many other mutants, becoming immortal and invisible. Upon awakening after thousands of years, he is disillusioned with the world as he finds it and recruits a team of powerful mutants, which are usually considered his four horsemen, including a disheartened Magneto, to cleanse mankind and create a new world order. And Professor X and his team of X-Men are trying to stop this from happening, including uh, Mystique from Jennifer Lawrence. So, I mean, just to give my background, I mean, the comics I've read, some of them I don't remember them very well, but I also was a big fan of the 90s cartoon X-Men, the animated series. And I've been a fan of most of the X-Men movies, except for I Hated Last Stand, and Wolverine Origins was terrible, and I think that's it. I think the other ones, all the other ones are, to me, all right. At least good enough to watch and like. So, and Days of Future Past being the most recent one and my favorite, I definitely had high hopes for this movie. Um, but it was weird because I think nobody had the hopes. Like as good as Days of Future Past was, the hype on this movie wasn't as big as a Captain America or a Batman v Superman, which kind of threw me off. But I was in the same boat. Uh, Now, first off, before I get to my positive and negatives, um, critics are destroying this movie. I shouldn't say destroying. I believe it has like a 45% critic rating, but it has a 74 audience rating, and so I'll come to that back to that later in my rating and how I feel about it. But let's do my negatives. And I only listed a few, but I believe I have more. But let me get to this one before let me get to this negative first. I didn't even write it down. But this movie, and it kind of goes with my first negative, is this movie had the hard task of dealing with Apocalypse, who's the most powerful being in the X-Men universe, just like Thanos in the Marvel universe. I mean, in the Marvel movie universe, he's the most powerful being, or one of the most powerful beings, and it's going to take a collection of people to beat him. And one of my fears of this and the Infinity Wars that's coming up is how are you going to have all these people fight this one guy? What? How are you going to be able to do this? Because you can't have everybody punching him at once and he's just taking the punches, or everybody using their powers on him. I always wonder how they were going to portray it, because I know they did it well in the comics, but it's going to be harder to believe in real movies. So, and to go with that, that is my biggest issue with the film is the climax. The climax is anticlimactic, and it's I don't know if it's because of Apocalypse being so. I don't believe that was the reason. I think the choices they made were just not great because they used a lot of CGI, which like I'm good with CGI if it's good, but it was just for no reason. Some of the things they made. Oh, as always, no spoilers too. No spoilers, my bad. But it's for no. It's a lot of a lot of at the end it was CGI for no reason, and at the same time, the way they parts of the way they did the battle, I loved and was very interesting. It made me think of the comics and video games and stuff like that. But other stuff, it was just like you guys, that was the best you had. Like it didn't make a lot of sense, and that's what frustrated me. That kind of is why I think a lot of people are more frustrated with the movie, and why I'm pretty frustrated with it too, because it was very ambitious what they did, especially with some of the things, but it just it didn't turn out the way I wanted. It was very anticlimactic for a movie I was really enjoying. The second thing on my negatives list is the Four Horsemen. Um, I think the characters they chose were great characters, but they were really for no reason, and they also weren't utilized. Like when it came to the battle, and after he's assembled all those horsemen, they didn't have much to do. You use them a little bit. I mean, Magneto's Magneto. He's one of the main villains and characters in X Men, so they used him pretty well. But everybody else was kind of like cannon fodder and just hanging out with Apocalypse. And the way they even showed Apocalypse was he was so powerful. Why do you need this for these other people? Like, truthfully, you're so powerful. You don't need anybody. You could just do it yourself in an essence. But anywho, so that's one of my other negatives. The other negative is I wish I had more time, and it's kind of, I guess, helps transition into my positives. I wish I had more time with the newer mutants or the newer actors in their old in the how to say that. I wish I had more time with the new actors playing their role as mutants that we already had. X-Men we already know, like Jean Grey, Cyclops, Nightcrawler. I wish we had more time with them because I enjoyed everybody, and this is where it goes into my positives. I enjoyed all of the new actors in their roles, for the most part. Just about everybody, especially when it comes to characters that are X-Men. I really enjoyed them and like Sophie Turner from Game of Thrones and stuff like that, and Cyclops. I really enjoyed their story and what they were doing with them and stuff like that. Um, One part that made it so hard that the climax wasn't so well is that the setup of Apocalypse was great. The first hour of the movie I was in, especially from excuse me, the opening sequence when they're showing how the opening sequence goes. I'm trying to say it without giving away spoilers. How the opening sequence goes and the whole story of portraying why Magneto makes his decisions, why Apocalypse, like where Apocalypse comes from, his origin story and stuff like that, and the way they set that up, I thought was great because I was wondering how they were going to do handle Apocalypse, period, and what's going to make Magneto choose to do what he's doing. And I liked all that. I trusted all that. Same thing with Professor X and everything. So all that I loved. It's just the climax wasn't, up to par. But then as well as one thing that the X-Men universe has always done is Magneto's story and Professor X's story are always great. And I mean, to having Michael Fassbender take over Ian McKellen and Sir Patrick Stewart being taken over by James McAvoy. Those guys were great to take over the role because it was a good transfer. The both of them, every time they're on the screen, they bring it all. They're captivating, and they're the most interesting. Especially Magneto in this to me. His story and what he had to go through is very interesting. And as well as one of my favorite parts about Days of Future Past was Quicksilver, and in this movie, Quicksilver does it again. He steals a couple scenes. He's in the movie more, and you get to know his character a little more as well. And they give him a little subplot in the movie as well that I also liked. But I do have more positives and stuff, but I'm gonna just leave it at that because it's very hard to talk about this movie and not give spoilers because it's such specific things that they could have changed to make it better, or they could have enhanced to make them, because there's a lot of great moments in the film, and then there's a couple moments where it's just like, crap, why? Or this person's wasted, this character's wasted, and I don't want to get into all that because it can spoil the territory. So I'm gonna give my score. Out of 10, I give this movie a 7.8. That's not saying that's to me that's still a good score. It's still saying I think you should. Like I've had a debate with one of my friends, and they were considering not seeing the movie, and I was like, no, you should see it. And this, oh, you guys know OJ. If you've seen my older videos, OJ was considering about wondering if he wanted to see it because he's the comic book purist. And I was like, no, I think you're gonna like it. If you like Days of Future Past, don't expect it to be up there. Expect it to be a little lower. Go with lower expectations. And if you're just going, by yourself and your date or whatever and seeing it, it'd be a good film to see for anybody who's a fan for the most part. But it's just not. It's not a movie. This movie you're supposed to rave about. And just like with Batman v Superman, granted I rated this higher than Batman v Superman because I think it's better in a lot of different ways, but I can't rave about it. And when somebody says they dislike it, I'm like, I can understand your points with all these different things. But since my score is 7.8, I go back to the critic score. I think the critics, I think the reason the critics are harsher on this is because of expectations. Coming off of Days of Future Past, this movie, you would think it's going to be the next. It should be on the same boat as Captain America: Civil War, and that was my thought process. Luckily, before I went in, I saw saw some critic ratings. I heard some people talking about it, and I just tailor my expectations a little bit. But I still enjoyed the film. I still enjoyed it. I liked Oscar Isaac as Apocalypse, and Jennifer Lawrence. I just think we should get away from Mystique. I think Mystique needs to go rogue and do her thing, and they need to focus on somebody else because Mystique's not even a premier character in the X-Men universe. And I love Jennifer Lawrence. I just let's get her back to doing her other movies and let X-Men be for some people that want to be in the X-Men universe. But anyway, that's all I got for you guys. You can follow me on all social media at dwood2324, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. And make sure if you like the video, click that thumbs up button. And so you can see all my future reviews and all my past reviews. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, Talking Movies with D. I'll get at you guys next time. Have a good Memorial Day weekend. Deuces, and I'm out.